It's a rainy day today, so please try to look past any of the sounds that may be in the background from the rain falling on the roof. But today's episode is going to be diving into people that have things to do with power and electricity. Now, I could go way deeper into all the topics that I go into, but before I start this video, I just want to make it known that the reason I don't go so deep into things is because too many people spend their lives researching and studying history. Yes, it has valuable things that you can learn from it. But when people get so stuck in finding out what was and what was, they don't understand that it's important to realize that as the spiritual beings we are, physical and non-physical are equally important, because you can't have the comfort to learn in the physical world about your spiritual nature if you don't have things working properly in the physical world. And right now, to me, as an individual who is Christed, who does understand what's going on here in the universe, the trees are just as important, if not more important, than any of the historic stuff. Because right now, we're killing our environment. So when I say the trees, I'm using that as just an example of the environment itself. The environment right now in the physical present world that we're in should be as important, if not much more important, than studying the past. Any person who's out there trying to fight and work for justice should be really taking into consideration that they should be fighting for the health of their planet, for the health of their society, for the health of their environment, not fighting for some rich guys paying them money to go carry out their deeds for them. They should understand that. And if they don't, they're just a knucklehead who needs to learn, and that's not meant as an insult, it's just how things are. So now I'll get into the game of names. Starting off with our electrical men, we've got Benjamin Franklin. He was born January 17th, 1706. January is 1, the active month, the bottom line A, active. 17 is on cue, or actively generating. And then 1706 is on cue, actively generating, that's his century, ongoing, form, force, or familiar. What was Benjamin Franklin known for? The lightning rod, flying the key on the kite. Now look at his name. In its base expressed notion, intense, active, manifest, identified notion. Okay. And then Franklin. When someone is frank, you know what that means, but we'll say form, force or familiar, reference or active here, active, notion, kinetic, as it lie, identified notion or nature. Frank line. Now we have lan when we talk about stuff that connects. Now we have line when we're on the line with an L-I-N-E, and he's Franklin without the E. But it's form, reference, active, notion, kinetic, as it lie, or the active base, identified notion. And being Benjamin, when you're jamming, I mean, I'm not trying to sound stupid, but just listen to how this is. Now, he's not like anything to do with the word Jamaica, but that's all an energetic place. That's where they be jamming, don't you know, man? But he's got jammin' in his name with one M. B-E-N is base expressed notion. Jamin is intense, active, manifest, identified notion. And then Franklin is putting that into a form of something that holds it in a line. And it's literally electric rod. He's done many other things, but that's what his name resonates through history. And his memory is left as, because it vibrates with him on a bigger level than just his name and just his birthday. But this is what I'm trying to show you, is it can go into so many details about all these people, and I can show you and I can tell you, but I have no interest in it. So it takes energy out of my positive direction towards helping this planet to keep going into stuff about depth of things, and it takes it out of me because I'm truly not interested. When you are it, you don't talk about anybody else who was it but didn't get it completely right. I'm trying to still get it completely right because that includes you. And for some reason, out of my heart pouring, I still have this obstacle of having to convince people that I do mean them well and I do know what I'm talking about. Because if they would listen, they'd see that I know what I'm talking about. And if they would just observe and pay attention, they'd see that I do care. And all I want to do is help each and every person, each and everything. I have no ill intention. I don't have an ego to worry about. All I have is you as my complete family. So we'll move on to the next guy. Sorry if I tangented there. I'll try not to do it too much this video. Now, this is a little off course with this video, but this is a local man named Nick C. Scott. He happened to have dated my aunt way back when they were teenagers. So, I mean, he's been doing this thing for 50 years plus. And he's one of the guys in our area that he's the CEO of Scott Enterprises. Now, if you know what the word Scott means, S-C-O-T, 2 T's is 20 and 20, which is 4D, 40. And then you have literally subject, constant to itself, ongoing, plus, plus. So Scott means, great Scott. You're generating a reference expressing at, or active plus, Scott. So even on the movie Back to the Future, they're saying when they went from this place to that place, great Scott. They created a place by jumping back and forth in future and past, like in Back to the Future. I mean, I'm just using that reference. So these all end up meaning what they are, whether it's a person, place, thing, idea, all of it. So Nicholas C. Scott, notion identified, constant to itself, ongoing as it lied, active subject. C, constant to itself, his middle initial. Scott, subject, constant to itself, ongoing, plus, plus, in place. And he literally owns so many things in this area of Erie. It's eerie. See what I'm saying? People live their vibration, and they never, ever notice it. They might be like, wow, that's familiar, and what a coincidence. But once you see it, it goes much deeper. So then you see you're not your name, and you do more for the living beings around you, instead of worrying about chasing your own dream. It's not about your own dream. You wake up from the dream and you see that that was the mistake all along. The American dream actually becomes a nightmare when you take it upon yourself to chase your own dream and not see that we're all in the mind of God. All is mind. So who controls that mind? Any piece of it that becomes conscious of itself. Any piece. So we are all pieces of God, even Nick Scott. This is the energy. And I wanted to use him because his name goes into the next 2 people who have a lot to do with energy. And if you consider owning a lot of property as controlling a lot of power, of course it is. It's just a different form of it. So now we'll go back into the electric guys. And I wanted to use Nick Scott because we have Nikola Tesla and James Prescott Joule coming up. And first, to stay in a more chronological, historical order with Benjamin Franklin, we'll do James Prescott Joule. Scott, like I said, is the subject constant to itself, ongoing, plus, plus. So it's on the spot. Just like the word like Scotch tape, a Boy Scout. Those all have things to do with the spot you're at with the T. See how those T's actually mean plus. They're a plus symbol to any. So once you start getting this and understanding letters are carved out in space, you'll start seeing the world for what it is truly, at least a little more. It takes a lot of effort and contemplation to start grasping the universal awesomeness. So James Prescott Joule, as well as Joule, if you know what Yule, Y-U-L-E, as in Yuletide, the Christmas season, where things are back to the cold, understand when you look at the word Yule, Y-U-L-E, it's 25, then a vowel, then 12, then a vowel. Vitally identified, underlying, active base, expressing the cold. It's the season where things are repairing or preserving, cooling off, the kind of healing season, getting ready for the next one, Yule. And it comes in waves, the Yuletide. Switch that around and take the vowels off and just give it 1225 as its number, the date. And I've done a video about this, Christmas Day, where we celebrate the living energy. Change that a tiniest bit and say that J-O, the junction coming into tense ongoing, U-L-E, Joule, unit as it lies, the active base expressing, Joule isn't Yule, it's the coming into tense ongoing underlying active base expressing. He's known for discovering more into what electric can do by its heat and mechanics. If you really think about it, his birthday being 12/24, the day before, it's the active base center. And then his name being Yule is literally one date, one day away from Christmas Day, which is where we celebrate living vitally identified, the Ling vitally identified, 1225. I mean, these things are too simple, and they're so simple and so true that people that live a life that is just so over bombarded with things that really don't matter, this seems too simple. But what they need to do is learn to simplify. So going into James Prescott Joule, J is coming into tense, AMS, and remember J is basically the junction of the I because it's 9I, J, 10. J is the hook of the identity. So it's the junction of coming into tense. So when you look at it and say J ams, it's basically I ams, but it's the junction of I ams, James. And it's a subject at the end with an S, so it's plural. So he's going to go do something. With Prescott being pre-Scott, before it's on the spot, it's potential reference expressing subject constant to itself ongoing plus plus. So it's before it comes to the spot, pre-Scott. And the junction of active manifest expressed subject, pre-Scott, and then Jewel, the junction ongoing underlying active base expressing. And then 12/24 being his birthday, 1888, he's the active base, 12, centered. And then it's to reference upon itself, RR, 1818. Or you could say active here. Or you could say reference active here. As silly as this stuff may sound to some people, I'm just making it plain and simple, because it is. And this is James Prescott Joule, what the Joule is named after. So moving on to the great Nikola Tesla. I've been looking forward to doing him for a long time, and I've recorded a few, and last time I did, it was on Christmas Day, and I went off, and I didn't want to offend anybody over talking about, their idea of Christ. As you can see, people who can manipulate energy have some kind of ability that other people don't have. They could teach it, but it comes from some primal source that resonates with their being. Now, the name Nikola Tesla, along with his birthday being July, notice he's in July, just like we did James Prescott Joule. He was born in July, the 7th month where things are generating, July. And he was born in that month on the 10th, coming into tense, J, and then 1856 is the reference of expressing force or form. He was also from Smiljan. Look at Smiljan, where he came from. Subject, manifest, identified, as it lie, junction or intense, active notion. So that's where he came from. Now look at his name, like I did Nick Scott and I did James Prescott Joule. They all tie together in different spots, in different points in time. Nikola is the notion identified kinetic, ongoing, active base or as it lie, A, bottom line A, active. Tesla is the to any or plus expressing subject, active base, active. Do you think that's just a coincidence that his name, his birthday, his birthplace all resonate with what he was known for energy and all the great inventions he had? He resonated with it because he too understood his point of Christ. He may not have said it that way because not everybody talks because they learned it from a book. Some people talk because they learned it from their own experience. In my experience, I was shown all of these things, but I'm trying to pinpoint the universal part that can repair us if we don't get too caught in all this translation. We can go into everybody's life and all their historic details, but all that's going to do is stop us from moving forward now. We can use their ideas for good, or we can let their ideas be used for bad. And it's up to us to make those decisions together. That's what we're faced with right now. We've got to make some decisions together, or by being apart, we get totally torn apart or blown apart or separated even more. And this isn't a threat of harm. That's inevitable. We know that. The change itself is going to be hard. Whether we change ourselves and straighten out, that's a lot of work. And if we don't, we'll get straightened out by nature or by the inhumane nature that human beings have towards each other. This is going to be it for this video. I'm only doing these few because these are some big names, and I broke down some more words and ideas in between there with Yule and things like that. I'm not trying to make every video a specific pattern because this is almost ridiculous to me to try to get people to come together, that I have to show that I can teach. But this is everyone and everything. And because I care, I will continue to try in every way that I can that doesn't curse us any more than it already has by us all being inhumane towards each other and by stirring people up too much. But I'm just coming from my heart and showing you what God gave me the ability to teach. And it's something that will change the foundation of humanity if people embrace it. That's the point. If you don't embrace something, if you don't see the value in anything, then you're never going to take the right steps or make the right actions. And I'm showing you, without money, without having to worry about merchandise and factories and economic patterns and social form, those things need to be set aside while we get ourselves together. And that is the work we all need to do, individually and collectively. There is no chasing after yours while I go for mine. That idea itself has to go unless we want to be animals. That's the animal mentality. Working together is the mentality of people who actually care about each other, not competing. You can do that for fun sometimes, but let's get ourselves together and do the right thing. That's all for this video, and until next time, God bless.